The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, thank you for joining in, everyone. I see a great turnaround already, so that's great. We still have about a minute to go, so we'll just wait for others to join in, and we'll promptly start in a minute or so. Thank you. All right, so welcome everyone once again. Thank you for joining us. My name is Paresh, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's webinar. Um, Before we quickly jump into the webinar, just wanted to let you know that all of you are on mute by default. Um, at the end, we will be taking questions, so you can send us your questions using the chat functionality. At the end of the webinar, we'll be taking them. So, yeah, uh, we see a great turnout today. We are here to talk about a very critical topic, upgrade to Sitecore 9, and we have an array of Sitecore and technology veterans to discuss the same. Without any further delay, I'm going to quickly introduce you to our speakers for today. We have Greg Baxter, Senior Vice President of Customer Experience at edynamic. Greg has spent 21 years living and breathing digital. Before edynamic, Greg spent 8 years at Sitecore, leading business optimization strategies in a global and regional capacity. Greg specializes in writing strategy to drive business uplift using Sitecore's capability. Uh, to talk about the technical nitty-gritties, we have Satish Balakrishnan, Vice President, Technology and Delivery at edynamic. Satish is a seasoned solutions architect focused on helping the businesses achieve digital transformation and beyond that. He has led dozens of complex Sitecore implementations and upgrades across multiple verticals. Lastly, we also have Akhil Mittal, Vice President of Digital Solutions Team at edynamic. Akhil has been a multidisciplinary consultant to a lot of Fortune 500 companies across the globe. He has helped marketers and technologists achieve business results by establishing marketing technology, digital analytics, cloud, and security processes. Uh, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over the baton to Greg. Lastly, I'm going to quickly remind you that you can type in your questions in the chat functionality, and we'll be taking them at the end. Over to you, Greg.
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much, Paresh. I'm super thrilled to be working around this webinar topic of Sitecore 9. Not long ago, I was at Symposium in Las Vegas, and I was really blown away by the marketing power that Sitecore 9 is bringing to the platform. It always had omni-channel capability, but the strides made by the Sitecore software development team were really quite stunning, and I can't wait to share them with you. So we're going to start this presentation with the why. You know, if we get under the hood of Sitecore 9, why would we use it, and what are the real differentiators now that can drive significant business uplift? And then Satish will help with the what. So, you know, what do you need to do to have a very successful upgrade process? And finally, Akhil will round out with the how, which will walk through the most efficient way to upgrade. So I'm going to start with just 2 slides on edynamic. Please bear with me. We have to do this. We're a global digital agency. We really focus on customer engagement, and we really live what we breathe. We're a Sitecore specialist organization, We love to think of ourselves as an inch wide and a mile deep. And by that I mean we don't focus on lots and lots and lots of CMS platforms. We do Sitecore, we do it incredibly well. We've been a partner with Sitecore since 2003. We've delivered well over 200 projects now. We have a small army of trained Sitecore resources. We have 4 Sitecore MVPs on staff, including our CEO, who's a Sitecore strategy MVP himself. We really specialize in building connectors to extend the Sitecore ecosystem. So ways to connect Sitecore's amazing optimization and conversion capability with outbound marketing, CRM, and other sort of central tenets of the digital MarTech stack. And of course, we build on industry accelerators and reusable frameworks. The stuff we build is based on Helix, so it's best practice, and we really focus on speed to market. So without any more about edynamic and ourselves, let's jump into why you should do this. And I'm only going to show again 2 slides on this stuff. But in the world of business to consumer, we've known for a very long time that CX drives revenue. Fantastic customer experiences, personalized web journeys, and optimized digital experiences really do drive measurable, concrete business uplift. Whether it's Nutricia driving up monthly sales by 75% and monthly rebuy by 140%, or it's PS Bank driving organic loan applications up 500% using personalizations, or it's a Nissan driving a 150% increase in test drive applications across the internet. So these are not small numbers. These are the kinds of numbers that lead industry analysts to say that, you know, a great majority of businesses very soon will compete on customer experience, and that CX leaders absolutely outperform laggards. But if we flip the coin and we start to look at business to business, there's been a sense for a very long time that business to business didn't use this, as if business buyers shut off their business to consumer experiences when they walked in the door of their companies to do work. That is no longer true by a long shot. There is no middle ground now. I'm not going to go through all of those metrics. You can see the big numbers. The big take-homes of this slide is that personalization is as important in B2B as it is in B2C, that businesses spend a lot of time researching before they purchase, and increasingly businesses would like the same omni-channel experience that B2C retailers have spent a lot of time working out how to do really well. So when we see B2B companies like Blue Garden, which makes HR software across the world, we see them using personalization capabilities and increasing their sales by 120% and increasing their all-important leads by 250%. So let's take a look at how that works and what really makes that fly. And you know, during the introduction here, it became apparent I've been at Sitecore for a very long time. So I was privileged to see Sitecore go from a very fine enterprise-class .NET web content management system into a true omni-channel digital marketing platform. The promise was always there. But 9 is a stellar increase in capability around other things than the CMS component. So I really started thinking of 9 as a true Sitecore singularity. It's the moment when literally Sitecore comes into its own as a unified platform to manage digital marketing. And by unified platform, I mean that 3 things really need to work in orchestration and symphony to manage and share customer data to help drive conversions through optimization of the process. And that is, the CMS has to be smart enough to sense and adapt to where a customer is in real time in order to surface the calls to action and the content that will make them convert. Any outbound that a business sends, and by that I mean marketing automation stuff, I mean posting stuff on LinkedIn or Google AdWords or any of those kinds of things, or even email marketing, needs to also understand where that customer is. So the ability now to share profiles from the content management system, which does such a great job of understanding who people are and what they're interested in, being able to share that and send out highly relevant, highly targeted emails and marketing automation communications that are completely on song with where a customer is in their purchase cycle is super important. And finally, there has to be a way to unlock all of that customer rich data. You know, the amount of information that we provide as individuals when we're surfing the internet and looking through sites is really quite incredible. And this information has been previously invisible to the people who close a lot of deals, particularly high-end deals and B2B deals, and that is the sales guy, who is sitting more often than not behind a CRM. They don't know anything about digital marketing, but they do know that they want a high quality, very targeted MQL upon which to act. So all of these things running in conjunction and ferrying exactly and delivering exactly the right information at the right time to a salesperson creates the perfect digital sales environment. And it has to really work increasingly across the channels that customers use. So let me give you an example. The construct that we've got here is something that we call the revenue engine, and it is an edynamic offering, and I am doing a webinar on this in depth in January, but we're just going to skip across it quite lightly now to give you a sense of why we do these things and why these individual Sitecore improvements in 9 are critical. So we start in the middle section there, which is the Sitecore engagement value scale. This is built into a Sitecore website, and the idea here is that we measure conversions that are key to business uplift, nothing else. This is solely about measuring the value of a customer in terms of their business value to us, because we want to use personalization, of course, to uplift that and to shift the needle. To the left of that, is the marketing automation and EXM capability that is now completely unified and very, very, very powerful inside Sitecore. And to the right is where we would typically see information going through to a CRM system. So let me just explain quickly a user journey here. Let's say somebody comes to a Sitecore website from a LinkedIn or let's say a pay-per-click ad, and we recognize that it's their first visit. We know that it's a first visit, and we can read the intent of that person coming in from that link because of the campaign code built into that. So they hit the website, and it immediately personalizes to show the right testimonial and the right white paper. If they click on one of those things, they're presented in the marketing automation funnel. But we know because of their visit number is early and they're really looking at top of funnel content that they're not ready to be called an MQL at this point. So what would happen is that we would recognize that they're in the top of funnel, and when they go back to the home page next, or they navigate around, they would then see a call to action to move themselves down into the middle of the funnel. So if they read a testimonial about a particular kind of product, and let's say this is an insurance company, so they read a testimonial about, I don't know, health insurance, then when we recognize them and segment them as a cold lead at top of funnel, we would probably want to surface some gated content that is a deeper level of content around the product that I'm interested in. So it's a health insurance thing, but this time to get this really important piece of content, I have to add in my email address, or I subscribe to a newsletter if I find the information relevant and powerful. Once I've undertaken those 2 key activities, Sitecore's wonderful engagement analytics recognize that and progress that user to the warm lead or middle of funnel part. Meanwhile, our sales guy over on the right-hand side may have been delivered a watching brief that somebody is on the website looking at health insurance, and maybe that's a company. And Sitecore has given the IP and the name of a business. So to sell insurance in bulk, health insurance in bulk to everybody in a company is a good thing for a sales guy. So they might initiate a watching brief, but it's too soon to act. If they do subscribe to the newsletter and move into the middle of funnel, we would expect the outbound email that we would send, because remember, we've now captured their email address, to be able to say something like, use our quote calculators to determine how much you can save. If I saw that in an email on the way home from work after looking at a website, I might be inclined to go and look at that quote calculator. If I use a quote calculator, I'm very much approaching the absolute bottom of funnel. And the bottom of funnel in this kind of typical scenario is for someone to contact sales. If I do either of those two things, I'm pushed into the bottom of the funnel, which triggers a genuine MQL through to sales. But more than that, what the salesperson sees is the total of the customer journey. They know what kind of health insurance I'm interested in. They would probably know the budget that I was looking at based on my product selection. They would know that I had accessed premium content. They would know that I have used a quote calculator, and this looks like the right number for me to start having a dialogue with a particular customer around. So you can see that having these three things working in automation really forms, I guess, the holy trinity of marketing. Previously, all of that rich online business intelligence would have been invisible to the sales rep. And previously, the emails that got sent out were probably shotgun emails. You know, one email fits everybody, and we just hope it's relevant. And trust me, I unsubscribe from a lot of emails, and so do you, because they're not relevant. And the website will, of course, work in symphony with all of these channels to show the content that is designed to take somebody from reading a testimonial to contacting sales, but doing it in an ambient tempo that is not threatening. So let's look now at the real central pillars of this. And one of the most important things I saw at Symposium was Sitecore X Connect. The premise of this is really pretty simple. It basically means that we can take all of the rich customer data, profile information, lead status, business IP, number of visits, campaigns I'm involved with, all of it, and we can push that information into an adjacent system like a CRM, Salesforce, or Microsoft Dynamics, or we could indeed push this into Power BI and then have the ability to craft unlimited custom reports that really let us slice and dice data for ongoing marketing. Imagine being able to look at your analytics and say, show me everybody that looked at health insurance that used a quote calculator, suggested that they were a high value or a high net worth individual within 50 kilometers of New York City, because we're running an event in New York City next month and we want to invite those people. Those are the kinds of outcomes that you can do when you combine all of this data. So XConnect is super critical, and it takes the pain and to a very large extent the cost out of unifying all of the customer data across those channels, and also, of course, unifying the experience across those channels. So there are a couple of really important parts of this apart from being able to get the data in and out. And the next biggest one of those, in my opinion, is Sitecore email. So the idea behind a unified system is that I should only send out emails that are highly relevant. So Sitecore email capability has the capacity to look at somebody's customer profile as they've moved through that website and then send them an email that is built out with information that is highly relevant to them. So it's a perfect cross-sell and upsell tool. And because it's Sitecore, it's not just personalized, we can run A/B tests across every email and every experience right across the ecosystem. And we saw companies like Nutricia actually do this kind of A/B testing on really significant calls to action on their website, and we saw conversion increases of up to 500%. So those are amazing outcomes. We also have Sitecore's marketing automation piece now. And this is a tool that quite simply lets you mandate and dictate where somebody is in the buying cycle, either on the website itself, and then change or personalize the website as they move through stages, but also instruct EXM what email to send, and what relevant data should be sent to very diverse customer segments. It really is the the way to really create true omni-channel orchestration of the customer journey. And this could be information pushed to a social network, it could be information pushed into email, it could be information pushed into SMS, it's certainly email that is pushed into personalizing the website, and it would be the trigger point and the lead gen scoring mechanism that would finally trigger a rock solid MQL through to the sales department. Finally, marketing can prove that the work that they do triggers genuine MQLs that are measurable. And of course, everywhere on a website that is a conversion point is pretty much a form. Almost every outbound marketing piece or marketing automation communication points to a landing page that has a conversion form on it. So being able to stand up forms really quickly in a drag and drop capacity is, and being able to A/B test those forms really lets you optimize your conversion right at the pointy end. So they're reusable, reskinnable, and what I love about Sitecore's form tool is that when you say, okay, I want to build a form, the very first thing it asks you is what is the engagement value of somebody completing this form. What that means is that we can measure the ROI of campaigns, and not just the deliverability ROI. Not how many people saw a message and clicked on it and opened it, but how many people hit the landing page and converted. That's a huge deal. And of course, it contributes very heavily to the single view of customer that we can do. Now, if we fast forward just to March or so, we have, because of Sitecore's shift to the cloud environment, and in fact the entire world's shift to the cloud environment, we have the ability to plug in Sitecore Cortex. This is a machine learning play, and what that means is that instead of having to look at data and then, I guess, create personalization logic and all of those things, that this can be optimized. And that means that the very largest websites in the world with unthinkable amounts of product and service and content can be automatically optimized to deliver the right content and the right calls to action to steer people through a preset buying journey. We can also take information from Sitecore's quite splendid Path Analyzer, which shows you where customers travel through your website, where your key conversion points are, and you know, how easily customers are finding that conversion point and whether they're converting adequately at that point of conversion. That is like a 300-foot view of the conversion and business health of your website. Really quite extraordinary. And so when I see those things built into one really compelling platform, and I realize that I can instrument my website to be a conversion machine using Sitecore's engagement and optimization and personalization capability, when I can also utilize the same tools to make sure that my customers see nothing but relevant content, and then finally I can pick up all of that data and share it across the CRM system of choice. And if you're not such a big enterprise, or right now you're considering an enterprise level CRM, at least being able to push the data into Power BI so that marketers can finally get a view of how their content works in terms of attribution, conversion, and so forth. How well their campaigns run, what is the actual financial health of the website. And I can't stress this, you know, high enough. The days of marketers being able to say our job is brand amplification or more social likes are well and truly over. Hot marketers now realize that marketing is all about shifting revenue and moving reportable and measurable revenue outcomes to the board. So I'm going to give you a really quick example here. We don't have sort of a huge amount of time. This is a project I worked on for a very small bank. This was a 2-week project that used a personalized website, a personalized Facebook experience, and personalized email to take people through a 2-week campaign that was built around a game. And what it wanted to do was capture unique email addresses for EDM, and they wanted it to impact on sales. So this is, again, a 2-week project done by a really small team. In fact, one guy at the pointy end of this. And after 2 weeks of running these 3 critical components in absolute symphony, they saw a 60% increase in sales in the quarter after this campaign. Measurable, take it to the bank, no pun intended, increase in sales. They did get 40,000 new EDM names, but they also ran a personalized survey. And the idea behind that was to find out who you banked with, who your car insurance was with, you know, your medical insurance, who was handling that. And the idea here was if I declared who my home mortgage insurance was with, and the Queensland Bank's mortgage was cheaper, you would see something on the homepage the next time you visited to compare those rates with a big call to action to say switch. Really clever stuff. Out of the 40,000 people that played in this 2-week campaign, 37,000 of them fully completed this survey. So you can imagine the marketing intelligence out of 40,000 or 37,000 people telling them who they bank with, who their mortgage is with, who their car insurance is with, and so forth. A really incredible result. They also drove over that time 1.25 million Facebook hits in 2 weeks and generated 1.75 million Facebook votes. And this is a small bank, guys, really small bank. And at the end of this 2 weeks, they had more likes than banks that have been in business, the big four as they were called, for over 120 years. An outstanding result for a 2-week project around personalization. So to end this little bit of it off, it's not an epic journey to get there. 8 years with Sitecore and now more than a year with edynamic means that we've built a process that is designed to take Sitecore websites from the bottom left-hand corner where they're using the CMS, but it's all very traditional content management play, up inside 30 days into an optimized Sitecore website. So those all-important engagement analytics are turned on. We're measuring campaigns. We have personalization running. We are doing real-time profiling. We're testing. And really importantly, those rivers of customer data are pouring into the Sitecore experience database to be exploited. The third step is what we believe really creates the thing we're calling the revenue engine. When we have the Sitecore Experience Cloud plugged into a CRM or a BI system, and we're running marketing automation where we track funnel stage and lead score in symphony across all of these channels, we have something that is truly a digital marketing transformation. So we're just going to stop now, I'm thinking, and Paresh is going to run up a really short poll, and then Satish is going to tell you all about what you've got to do this, and then Akhil is going to give you a whole bunch of great information on how. So Paresh, I think it's up to you now.
Right, so the poll is now live. We'll give you guys 30 seconds, and then we'll hand over to Satish. Okay, so we you guys can continue to vote, and then Satish, over to you.
Yeah, I don't have option to share my screen yet.
Paresh, can you give Satish the ability to share his screen, please?
Yeah. Yep. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Yep, Satish, off you go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Craig. Hello, everyone. I will go over the details of what needs to be done to upgrade your website to the latest version of Sitecore. So the first step in Sitecore upgrade is planning. The planning phase is the most important in any upgrades. The time spent in the planning defines the success of the upgrade. the execution is all based on your planning. So the upgrade needs to be done, needs to be rolled out to all of your environments, like the developer workstation, development server, QA, UAT, etc. Most of the time, our customers need to maintain their current version while the upgrade is in process. So make sure like you have enough licenses to run both the upgraded version and the old version parallelly. Contact your Sitecore rep, like in case if you need any temporary license to perform this upgrade. So from our past experiences, like the major pain point in any upgrade is mostly related to the Sitecore modules or any of the marketplace modules and the third-party components that currently used in the website. What we recommend is like prepare an inventory list of all the modules and make sure they are all supported by the latest version of Sitecore. And like please account like any time additional effort required if the module is not updated to the latest version, or if the module is no longer maintained by the developer. So we need to provide like a plan for enough time to find an alternative or to make the code change or whatever it needs to make the site running in the latest version. And also like another thing we saw, like the site search, like we have noticed like a lot of customers right now using the hosted site search. So if you are using a hosted site search, like it's better to validate with the customer, with your vendor, to make sure like they are serving for the latest version of Sitecore. So another pain points we noticed is the changes to the Sitecore configuration files. If the best practices have been followed by applying the patches to config files, then it should not be an issue. So make sure like your development team creates project-specific config files rather than updating the Sitecore config files. It is always best to compare the config files with the base version of the Sitecore and understand the level of changes made to these files before you start any upgrade process. Also, like Sitecore provides the showconfig.aspx file, which is a very good tool to compare like what is the final configuration like currently being used on the site, and then make necessary steps like during the upgrade process. And we also heard like in the past, like after new version upgrade, the site performance is not the same as before. We always recommend to benchmark the current response time before doing any upgrade. Make sure like you take response type for all your top pages. Make sure like you know like what is your CPU consumption and memory utilization before you perform the upgradation. Also, like new software always need like better hardware. So check the Sitecore's new hardware and software requirements before you start any upgrade process. And also like it's always required like to proper planning for the go live date. That's also a very important factor. Like pick a date like which falls under your scheduled maintenance time or like low traffic time. And also like announce a content freeze to the content authors for at least few days before the go live date, so that way like the contents are not getting updated when the upgrade is happening. And also like prepare a step-by-step guide how to deploy your code, how to deploy the config files and all the stuff. And more importantly, like having a rollback plan is much more important. Yeah, like I will talk about like the process, right? Like what all it takes to upgrade a Sitecore to the latest version. And we have like multiple ways to upgrade this to perform an upgrade. Akhil will explain like in few minutes like the different approaches that we can take. There are like automated tools and some are like manual upgrade process, etc. I will explain like if we take a manual process, what are all the steps we need to take care of it. So manual approach is the traditional way, like where we do one version at a time. So if we are in version 7, Sitecore recommends to move to 7.2 first, and so from 7.2 to 7.5, 7.5 to 8, like that flow, that step by step, like one version at a time. We need to upgrade until we reach the final destination, like the latest version of the Sitecore. And Sitecore provides the documentation to upgrade step by step with the very detailed step by step instructions in the doc.sitecore.net website. In this approach, like the proper consideration should be taken for all the custom changes made on the database level or in the configuration level. Configuration files, like if there is any custom changes been done, like that needs to be validated and make sure like they are all following the best practice before we start. So we will not lose any of the changes during this upgrade process. And also like better understanding of how the new Sitecore structure, what are all the what's the major difference between the older version and the new version, what new files Sitecore has introduced, what new DL has been added, and all the stuff. Having an overview is much important if we go with the step-by-step manual process. Also, like plan for enough time, particularly to implement like the new features. For example, when we upgrade to Sitecore 9, it's always better to plan for like to move all your web forms for marketers to the latest Sitecore forms. So we need to plan for enough time to perform this type of code updates as well. And another major thing is like particularly if it is XDB is enabled, then it's better to like it's better to we make sure like all the processing server, session state servers, are all the stuffs also updated to the latest and greatest version of the Sitecore when we update the CM/CD servers. So where to start, right? Like the first, we need to start with a developer's workstation or an integration box. First, like update the database and the server files following Sitecore's step-by-step instruction. Engage the customer Sitecore support like whenever required. And on the server side config files, like it's always recommended to use the vanilla edition of Sitecore. Like particularly if your site has like lot of customization, especially like changes on the pipelines and all the stuff, like it's always better to take the backup of all your changes and just have the like the plain installation of Sitecore, and then start the upgrade process on the plain installation. And like once the installation is done, like then revert back, like update all the custom files to the install like latest version. And also like most important thing is like document the process, like document each and every steps, like what are all the, like if there is any errors, if you encountered, like what was the resolution, how did you fix that one, like everything needs to be documented. Because like we may repeating this steps like several times before we install everything in this in the Sitecore in the final production servers. And so some of the recommendations are like as I mentioned before, like upgrade the Sitecore, upgrade the database using the database and the configuration files with the out-of-the-box Sitecore instance. Like if there is any custom changes being done on the database side, make sure like you take the SQL file backup and then just have the perform the installation without that additional database tables and all the stuff. If there is any additional stored procedures being written to calculate something like that needs to also be reverted back from the site, and use just the basic Sitecore tables and all the stuff. Same thing with the Sitecore configuration files. Also like Sitecore folder, like files which sits in the Sitecore folder also like needs to be it's better to have the base one rather than like with all. If there is any custom changes, it may impact with the version upgrade, and debugging them may take more time than going like removing your files and then updating it back may be the better option. And And also, like, another thing we noticed, like, if we are using like Sitecore support files very specific to handle any of the known issue, most probably, like, it might have been incorporated in the latest version. So it's better to remove that support config files and DLL like before you start the upgrade process. And also, like, we have to remember, like, when the upgrade needs to happen, like both the content management and the content delivery server both needs to be updated. And during this upgrade process, and also like after upgrade, like, monitor the log files to see like if there is any error message, and if there is anything it needs to be fixed before making the change in the production. As I mentioned before, like, engage the Sitecore support as much as required. And so some of the tips and tricks, like upgrade Sitecore regularly. Like, that's more important. Like, the more we delay, it's going to be more expensive. So we recommend like at least upgrade like once every 12 months or 12 to 18 months period. And as I mentioned before, like, planning is the key for success. Like, the more time we spend planning, repeat the process several times will definitely help. Like, the go live will be much smoother. And engage a Sitecore partner, because the partners do these upgrades all the time, so they know how to fix if there is any issue if there is any issue during the upgrade process. And as I mentioned, like, practice definitely helps, like performing it in the before go live, like repeat the process like several times, and starting from the developer mission to a QA environment, like, which is very similar to production, will definitely help to have a smoother upgrade in the production environment. And engage Sitecore support if you are not able to find that issue in the Google. And what we noticed, like, Internet Explorer does not work much for this upgrade process, so better use Chrome or other modern browsers. And other thing, like, when we do this upgrade, like, there are a lot of file changes happening in the configuration and DLLs. Like, we recommend to increase the timeout period in the web config and the Sitecore config during this upgrade process. So like, you will not wait, like, with a lot of runtime error, like timeouts and all this stuff will not happen during this process. Yeah, with that, like, I will hand over to Akhil to talk about how to perform the Sitecore upgrade.
Thank you so much, Satish and Greg. So yeah, I'll just quickly show my screen. Yeah, I hope this is visible to everyone.
Yes, Akhil.
Perfect, Paresh. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'll be very quick in paucity of the time. Before I begin, let me restate the fundamental that I always talk before an upgrade. It sounds simple, but it is very critical to realize that an upgrade is just a stepping stone. The main objective we should never forget is to move closer towards a superior customer experience initiative. For example, personalization or analytics and so on. Hence, an upgrade is done best if it is done quickly and without much error. So that's the fundamental objective behind doing an upgrade. Regarding the key phases, I love the classic way of breaking down every process into 3 phases, and the same I've done here. Similarly, for an upgrade, the first phase really being planning and risk assessment. Satish really emphasized a lot, and I'll totally agree with him that this is the most critical part of the entire upgrade. If not done carefully, we end up in a situation where the entire upgrade might be required to roll back, in fact. Believe me, I have seen so many such instances where customer had to literally roll back the entire upgrade only because of the fact that they had not done the planning the right way. And risk assessment, I've highlighted it specifically, is one of the most crucial pieces of this entire planning exercise. Risk assessment needs to be done by an experienced architect who has done multiple Sitecore upgrades. These risks need to be properly registered, and a mitigation plan, which is very important. I repeat, a mitigation plan should be prepared before starting the upgrade. Talking about execution, of course, it can be done in multiple ways. Satish just spoke about the manual way, for example, and we'll see in the upcoming slides what are the new and smarter ways of doing an upgrade. But testing, of course, still remains the most cumbersome part of the entire upgrade exercise, and it certainly depends on the volume we are testing or volume we are upgrading. For example, the number of pages, number of forms, components, integrations, and so on. So yeah, this is of course the thing that takes most of the time during upgrade. Final step is to upgrade the surrounding ecosystem. We spoke about search. Say we have different other components like commerce. So all those surrounding ecosystem needs to be upgraded for a better user experience, and all these components need to be compatible with the Sitecore version that we are bringing it onto. Last not the least, growth plan is many a times missed out by marketers, but is certainly the step that yields to the maximum ROI for an upgrade. If we don't create the right growth plan, we are in fact missing out the opportunity to bring return on all the investment we have done. So yeah, as I said, it is critical to register every area of risk before starting an upgrade. Every upgrade is unique in itself, but based on the experience we have with over 2-3 dozens of upgrade we have done, here are some of the most common areas that you cannot miss out in any case. So the first foremost is about the deprecated assemblies or the customizations. Such pieces of code often written or will enable specific functionalities, and many a times these are hidden beneath the larger code. If not noted descriptively before, and I'm talking about again the planning phase, if these deprecated assemblies and customizations are not noted down descriptively, and when we complete the upgrade and realize that there are a lot of errors and bugs coming up, a lot of functionality is not working out, at that point of time, it becomes a huge effort to go back and backtrack where exactly are the problems coming up. And if we have noted the details of these customizations, these deprecated assemblies, believe me, we can save a lot of time during that debugging. Difference between CM and CD environments, I'm sure a lot of us might have it in our environments. Basically, a lot of us do it for internal testing, but what it leads to during an upgrade is a lot of duplication of efforts. Third-party integrations, as Satish also rightly hinted at, are often tricky, as a lot of these third-party vendors, they take their own sweet time to release their compatible versions with the new Sitecore versions. And what happens in such case, we might end up doing the entire upgrade for our website or the application, but a lot of the functionalities don't work because these third-party integrations are not working there, and that becomes a very difficult situation to handle. Yeah, of course, all of us might use a lot of additional modules by Sitecore, especially WFFMs. They are favorite to almost all the marketers. In fact, my personal favorites as well. But all these additional modules also required to be individually upgraded. So a lot of care has to be taken for these individual modules during the upgrade. Search, let me highlight, this is one single functionality that creates the most trouble sometimes during an entire upgrade. Any one of us, if they are using Lucene, a word of caution, most of the Lucene implementations, whenever they are upgraded beyond 7.5 or 8.0, lead to a lot of trouble in Sitecore upgrade. So if you are still using Lucene, it's the right time to see whether you want to take care of it before you start your upgrade path. Content freeze, often we miss it out to check with our business stakeholders because upgrade is typically taken care as an ownership of the technology team. and we miss out on this critical aspect of checking how much content freeze can our business teams afford. It totally depends on the frequency we update content on our websites, and sometimes the business teams become so adamant that they won't allow a content freeze window of even a day or two. If that is the situation, it has to be documented, it has to be discussed with the architect, with the entire team, and then only the upgrade has to be started. It should not happen we are in middle of the upgrade, everything is done, but then we are not getting a content freeze window, and entire thing is stuck, literally stuck there, believe me. The thumb rule of technology: every installation is unique and every upgrade poses new challenges. There are some big confusion creators where answer might be unique every time. I'm just highlighting 3 of them here based on our experience. The most common one is, should I go for a stepwise upgrade? For example, if I'm on 7.2, should I go? I will go to 7.2 to 7.5, lower update, then the higher update, and then the version upgrade to 8.0 and so on. So should I go for that stepwise approach, or should I go for a direct jump into, say, 8.2 or 9.0 from 7.2? There is no specific answer to this question again. So it totally depends on the complexity of your specific instance, what kind of customizations, integrations you have done on your instance. And in general sense, typically I suggest to take the direct jump approach only in case of minimal complexities kind of situations. Though rare, but still we see a lot of websites are non-responsive. The big question comes whether should we update our UI to responsive first before doing the upgrade, or should we do it after the upgrade? Again, no straightforward answer. It has to be evaluated during the planning phase and decided by the architect what to be done. All of us have heard about Helix. Has been now promoted by Sitecore, the future of framework. But again, updating the framework is not an easy task. So all this has to be taken into planning for your specific upgrade implementation. Quickly jumping on to the approach. First, so let me take an example here of which is simpler to understand, like upgrading your house. So the first approach I'm talking about here is the typical migration approach. In fact, what Satish hinted at during his part of manual migration, manual upgrade, was essentially a migration approach. What it says is, in migration, a fresh new house is built at a separate place, and then the content, I'm taking example of, say, the furniture within the house, so that has to be migrated into the newly built, the bigger, beautiful house that we have. But the biggest issue with this approach is that the customizations, integrations we had built in the previous house are all lost with the previous house itself. So for the new instance, for the new house, we have to actually redo this entire customization and integration pieces again in the new instance. Second approach, we call the simple upgrade approach. Again, we start with our small house. We don't dig out a new place for the bigger house. Rather, we start building on top of it. So this is typically a step-by-step process where we keep the existing customizations and integrations intact and build on top of the current version we have. Talking about the means to do an upgrade, of course, the traditional way was manual upgrades, but it is the most tedious and prone to human errors. Lot of times the entire upgrade had to be rolled back, lot of errors in manual situations. You must have heard about Sitecore's Express Migration tool. This tool follows the migration approach we just discussed. While edynamic, as Greg said initially, we have a very strong innovation arm that works continuously to bring value to Sitecore projects. One such intellectual property that we'll see in the upcoming slides is the Sitecore Auto V Upgrade tool. What this tool does is essentially it is based on the upgrade approach we just saw in the previous slide. This tool was launched more than a year earlier than any other tool, including the Sitecore Express Migration tool itself. Like every tool has a maturity curve, and because this tool was launched much earlier, it did a lot of Sitecore upgrades even before anyone was talking about an automated upgrade. So the tool could take its time to mature, and now it's at a point where the tool promises really great results compared to manual upgrades compared to other tools. This saves more than 75% of the time, which is by far the most critical aspect for any marketer during an upgrade. We save time, we save everything for us to do a lot of other things. A case in hand, my favorite, we did an upgrade for Georgia Pacific, the largest pulp and paper product manufacturer and distributor in North America. You must have heard about their brands such as Sparkle, Angelsoft, which are leading in their own bucket. Georgia Pacific was running Sitecore 6.6. I'm talking about a couple of months back. That time, 8.1 was the latest version of Sitecore. So they were struggling to complete their upgrade since last 4 months. In fact, they had to roll back their last effort of upgrade that they did because of the errors, the failures, and issues they saw post-upgrade. Believe me, with the Auto V Upgrader tool, this upgrade from 6.6 to 8.1 for 13 websites could be completed within 1.5 weeks, which still remains an astonishing fact for all of us. So a quick demo. I have a recorded version of the same. I'll quickly showcase it to all of you. Essentially, what it happens, we install it on a test instance, run the upgrade tool, and what it does, I'll skip a lot of steps here, but it automatically finds out what is the current version, and it gives you the option to jump onto the desired version. We can jump to the immediate next version, or we can even in fact jump to the highest version directly. So in this case, for example, my test instance was quite light, no complexities, and also directly jumped onto the latest version. And I'll skip through the boring process, and it does. It takes a couple of minutes. Did it, and then the good part is once the upgrade is done, it gives an option to do an automated testing. So the tool is pre-integrated with Selenium testing tool, and what it does is we can directly execute the test cases of Selenium from the tool itself. We don't have to go anywhere else. We run the two test cases, and here we see if everything goes smooth, it shows us the successful message. If there are any errors, it will throw it on the screen. It will tell this is the log files, these are the errors, where to look out for, and so on. And yeah, the upgrade is done. We can see it here, the version and so on. So yeah, pretty much it. Paresh, I think good time for taking the questions here.
Sure. So actually, there are quite a few questions, but in the interest of time, we may have to skip most of them. So what we'll do is we will kind of email out the question and answers later as well. So we'll take a couple of them here, though. So the first question that has come is the cross-channel approach sounds like it requires a lot of integration and a long process. How can we make that quick?
Hey, I'll jump in and answer this one. When we talk about the integration of data, it's really important first that we decide what data we're actually going to integrate and what data we're going to push into a CRM. In terms of pure business revenue uplift, it's a really focused process that we go through. So the best examples of Sitecore working incredibly well in terms of conversion really only record 7 or 8 key pieces of conversion that relate to revenue. That is what we would integrate with the marketing automation stack. And really from the marketing automation stack, we would only perhaps build a fairly simple funnel with a 5 or 6 step lead score. So we're really only pushing maybe 10, 15 pieces of data into the CRM. So what we want to do is create clarity by removing the clutter of analytics. So it's not a long process. edynamic has connectors to all of those. If you were, say, for example, using Eloqua or Marketo, we can integrate really quickly with that. We have Salesforce connectors. Sitecore has for a long time had Dynamics connectors, so it's not a long or painful process because we really focus on low-hanging fruit and short fuse, big bang business outcomes.
Great. So I think we'll take one last question. This one is the upgrade tool by edynamic. Can we license it and run the upgrade ourselves?
Okay, I'll take that, Paresh. A very common question I hear from most of the discussions we have. So to be honest, no tool is a single click solution for any implementation or upgrade. So the simpler answer to it is no. We don't license the tool. The reason is a lot during an upgrade depends on the overall methodology and planning we do, and without an experienced team, an experienced architect executing the entire upgrade, if we don't really take the planning carefully, we don't take the risk assessment and the methodology carefully, no tool can help that kind of upgrade. So to ensure that whatever we own, we complete it to the best, we don't license the tool. We provide it as a service where we complete the upgrade as an exercise, and believe me, because of the standardized methodology and processes we have developed, the upgrade process doesn't pinch the pocket that way. So it's always better to take it as a service rather than thinking about licensing it as a product. So we thought we'll never sort of license it for extended use. Yeah, okay. I hope I answered it, Paresh.
Yep, that sounds great. So I think we are the time is up. So we'll end this webinar here. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Greg, Akhil, and Satish for your inputs. We hope that everybody got some great takeaways from the webinar. So thank you everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.